Hi, how are you? I'm Yon Perullo from Extrema. As most of you know, if not all of you, over the weekend, the Ukraine launched a pretty successful attack on a lot of the aerial war infrastructure of Russia in a bunch of different regions using drones that they had been planning for quite some time. Took the Russians by surprise, took the world by surprise, quite frankly. And so I started to think, well, what if Ukraine was successful enough damaging some of this, infrastructure within Russia that, there's really two choices. They can escalate the war, or they can just declare victory and go home, saying that they taught Ukraine the lesson they need to teach them, and now they're going to leave Ukraine alone for now, and that's it. So if the war was to end in that way, and again, I think this is a low likelihood, but let's just go with it here. I decided to put this to the test of our custom stress test AI to see what would happen, what would be the impact on portfolios in a case like this. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to put in, so this is the portfolio that I have, and you can see it's a pretty well diversified portfolio, lots of different things: equity, fixed income, alternatives, currency, commodity, including Bitcoin. And so let's just see what happens, what custom stress test AI would say if I did this scenario. So here's the scenario. Now let's see what would happen here. I have a couple of ideas of what would happen. I think it would be really good for Europe. Europe would probably, the equity markets there would go up quite significantly, probably good for the euro as a currency. And I would think that oil would go down a bit. So why would oil go down? Well, I just think Russia's a big producer, and maybe there would be some easing of sanctions on them. I don't know how quickly that would happen given the current administration. I think that could be something that they would reward, lowering, removing some tariffs, removing some obstacles from Russia to play on the global market. And if that were to happen, it would obviously be bearish for oil prices, good for the global economy probably, but supply would go way up. Prices would probably come down. And those are the three things that come to mind. So we're going to see what happens here from the stress test, and it'll generate in just a moment. So, okay, oil, S&P up, interesting. An emerging market sovereign spread. So let's find out why. I wouldn't expect that to really be a big boon for the S&P. Let's see why it thinks so. So oil, an immediate end of the war could reduce geopolitical risks. That's what we just said. The resolution of a major geopolitical conflict can lead to improved investor sentiment. That's true. I guess my thought is that it probably wouldn't be the S&P 500, but because all of the markets are so closely related, that maybe the S&P 500 is the one that would that we're just using to drive the rest of the global economy here. So it is the most prominent one. So maybe that's what makes sense here. So we have a 15% increase on that. Euro may appreciate against other currencies. That's another thing that I said. I do think that would be beneficial for continental Europe. Emerging market sovereign spread is interesting. I didn't think about this one, but a decrease in geopolitical risk would typically lead to a narrowing in spreads as investor confidence in emerging market improves. Now, that can certainly be the case. A lot of times that flight to quality really impacts the riskiest of markets first, and those tend to be the emerging markets in general. I think we'd have to get a little more specific here, but we'll decrease the emerging market sovereign spread a little bit. So let's just take this as it is and apply the scenario to this generally well-diversified portfolio. You can kind of see the interesting graphic there, but this is where it lands. So essentially, this scenario of Russia withdrawing Ukraine is a bullish scenario for this portfolio. If we look here, we have Bitcoin doing very well, currency, and I think that we've been seeing that when the markets are up lately, Bitcoin has also been up. So I do think that could be something that would really help. Bitcoin is having some of these geopolitical risks being removed and having a good U.S. Stock market, because the two have kind of been correlated as I've seen in the last few months here. Some stocks we have, Microsoft, Russell, all those things are going to go up. Emerging market shares would do well. And the only things that we have doing poorly here are the aggregate bonds and relatively well, somewhat risky portfolio, probably akin to a 60-40 risk portfolio roughly. We would have about a 10% increase in the portfolio. So that's just a quick way to get a sense of what the scenario might be. Of course, we can adjust all these factors. We don't have to use the factors exactly as they come out of stress test AI, but I do like to run that through, and it's a really quick and easy way to do the exercise of what might happen in a scenario that we think of. Thanks for listening.